They took a turn for the worse unexpectedly, but immediately. Alright, Single's Inferno 3 has officially wrapped. To say our final goodbyes to what this season was, I figured there's no better way than ranking the cast. With all of the success season 3 has had and the franchise has had, we better get a season 4. So after we rank the cast of season 3, I thought it'd be fun, and I posted this in my community tab. I let you guys know that I was making a tier ranking video to wrap up season 3, to commemorate it, to say our final goodbyes to it, with a little twist. Because we don't know yet if we're getting a season 4. Fingers crossed that we do. I feel like we are. But just in case, at least look back on how it all started. To do that, we're gonna be ranking every single cast member that has ever crossed paths on Single's Inferno, the franchise. We're taking a look back at season 1, season 2, and season 3. But we're gonna start off with season 3. It's still fresh in our minds this way, to start off with season 3. Then we'll dive back to season 2, then season 1. But the end goal is to rank every single cast member that has shown up on the Single's Inferno franchise. We're gonna be ranking people based on how iconic they were, how memorable they were, how much of a statement they made, how much of an impact they made in their season. Before we get into describing the tiers, hey girl, hey, welcome back to my channel. It's Bree with an E. Give this video a big thumbs up. It helps me out so much. Also check to make sure that you are subscribed, girl. It's a quick and easy click of a button. And lastly, more for your sake than my sake, make sure you hit that bell notification. That's gonna notify you every time I upload so that you don't miss out, girl. But without further ado, let's now get into explaining our tier situation. Let me guide your attention to our first tier, labeled none other than iconic. These are the cast members that really just truly left a mark, left such a memorable impact that like there is no remembering their season without first remembering them. You know what I'm saying? Like they are more popular than the season itself. Next we have entirely underrated. This is a tier for the cast members who were just overlooked, not hyped up as much as they should have been. Next we have, and this tier doesn't have words to it. You know the emoji where it's just like, they're standing, they're awkward, they're there, they're just there. Okay, that's the tier. You had nothing great, but nothing bad to give. Next we have sharp left. Like they took a turn for the worse unexpectedly, but immediately. So like you liked them, say, an episode ago, but the next episode, the literal next episode, things went wrong, things went haywire real quick, real fast. Next we have get a grip. Get a grip. This is for the cast members who were doing too much. This is just like the cast members who just truly, I feel like were unhinged. We're just like slowly losing their minds, and like their decisions reflected that. And next, girl, we have, wait, who? This is the tier for the cast members who, frankly, I don't genuinely remember what was going on with them. Maybe I literally just don't even remember them, because there's a few people when I was going back and grabbing pictures for everybody that I was like, girl, who are you? I've got all of these seasons organized by order, so season 3, season 2, and then season 1. And our first up on the list for season 3 is none other than An Min-young. Min-young kind of was frustrating, more so than she was likable at times. So I'm gonna put her in get a grip. And the reason we're putting her in get a grip is because purely for the whole situation that happened with Jin-sook and when Minji came. Okay, so she was just acting very different, very new, very strange when it came to Jin-sook liking or having any attraction to Minji, only after she expressed to him that she didn't really want to be his only person he was going after. She was just overthinking it and was doing too much and just put my guy, Jin-sook, in a bad position. The next we have for our cast members is Minji. Things took a turn when I feel like she got involved with Gwanhee. Honestly, she was fine. She was okay with Jin-sook. Like, I liked her and Jin-sook. They were okay. Then when she, like, took her interest into Gwanhee, just things switched up and she just became, I want to say, a little bit pathetic. Like, she was crying over him, like, on day 2 of knowing him. She just honestly quickly lost herself and became so dedicated, overly dedicated in my opinion, to Gwanhee and making him feel reassured, that she kind of lost a sense of herself. And I wasn't seeing that like fun, flirty, cute, like don't care, whatever type of personality, type of vibe she had very early on. So I will put her in get a grip because she quickly lost that grip, girl. She lost her grip. All right, but next we have Hajong. With Hajong, I felt like she was one of the girlies in the cast who I was not gonna like so much. I don't know, I just got vibes from her that I was not going to enjoy her personality on camera, her screen personality, whatever, how you want to say it. Over time, I want to say I started to I liked her. I think that was when she stopped being associated with Gwon Hee and she started calling him out for his crap, when she kind of was like expressing herself amongst the girls and like really digging into Gwon Hee. I was like, girl, period, girl power, like you're calling the man out for what he is, how he's acting, period. She saw through his behavior and I was like, okay, girl, period. Then despite that, despite her calling him out, she quickly turned back to him, so that made me not so much dislike her but just feel disappointed in her. And then honestly, with everything that was going on between Gwon Hee, Minji, and Haeseon, she faded to the background like entirely. So I unfortunately have to put her in our standing emoji category, our she was just there, because truly after the whole Gwon Hee situation, after her calling him out and then going back to him, she was just there. All right, but next we have Kim Gyuri. Gyuri was a girl in the cast who I felt quickly was gonna be like that like Jaya coded type of girl, or that like Suki coded type of girl. Like every guy was going to want her, like she was every guy's ideal type. And I feel like she was, like, she's obviously pretty and attractive in that way, but honestly she didn't get a lot of screen time like I thought she was gonna be. Like not a lot of guys were actually at the end of the day fighting for her. The whole situation with Minwoo, I felt like, really destroyed her pride, really hurt her ego, and she did a little jump scare at the end. At first she was just gonna be rated in the she was just there category, because I felt like she wasn't really giving us anything, she wasn't bringing anything to this season except for her making cute eye contact across the fire with Minkyu. And honestly, if she continued those moments with Minkyu, maybe we could have had more of her this season, and they would have been one of my favorite, because they were cute, they were really cute, and they were giving cute moments. But she was pulling back and not investing in any of the guys, I felt like. So I have to say, especially with the whole jump scare at the end that she pulled, with her talking very much so in a condescending tone to Minwoo, I understand the situation. She felt slighted, how Minwoo quickly got up. I say quickly because she didn't understand that Xian and him were already building something. Anyway, I digress. She felt like he quickly moved on and changed his mind so quick. And that's understandable, that's valid for her perspective of things. However, the way she was talking down to him, being very condescending and just what have you, I did not like that. So I would say sharp left for sure. I didn't have so many feelings about her before. Like I said, she was going to be in the standing emoji category. And then after the whole stunt she pulled on like the very last 2 episodes, girl, like you could have been just there, but you wanted to act up in the last 2 episodes. That's fine, you've been put in the sharp left. It's not necessarily that I also like dislike her now or disliked her after that. I just like side eye, you know, like why, you know? But next we have my absolutely stunning, adorable, gorgeous girl, our Ginny lookalike. She does really look like Ginny, but we're not gonna say compare her to Ginny. None other than my girl Xian. We're gonna put her in, I want to say, entirely underrated, because she's surely not just there. She surely was not just standing emoji. She, I felt like, was entirely underrated, or slightly underrated, just because I felt like she was like one of the cutest girls on the cast, in my opinion. Like Haeseon was my number 1 girl, and then Xian quickly became my number 2 girl. So I was like, why aren't the guys flocking? Why aren't the guys immediately running and trying to get to know her like they were trying to get to know Cutie? I just feel like she would also be a lot of guys' ideal type. She was very cute, bubbly, very bright, just very everything I feel like a lot of Korean men like, just based on watching enough of these dating shows. So I felt like she was gonna be second it girl one of the it girls that were gonna pull a lot of men, but honestly, so I just feel like this season as a whole showcased so many beautiful girls that like really truly, and I don't want to say speak badly on the other girls or the other seasons, but there was a clear like the scale is pretty equal like type of attraction, like likability, like looks sense for this season that the other seasons kind of did not witness. Like there was like a clear tier, like a clear front runner for the other seasons, but for this season truly all of the girls were just literally divine, literally like, so like I don't know, I just thought she would get more head turns. Okay, not honestly saying that she needed more love interest in the end, but why not? Next we have our queen, our everything, our reason for the season, girly. Season 3 would not have been season 3 without Haeseon. I literally just have to say it. Haeseon, Queen Haeseon, will be going in our iconic tier. Like when we look back on season 3, we are of course gonna remember Haeseon. Like how could you not remember Haeseon? Haeseon was literally the deciding factor. As much as we think Gwon he was the one choosing Haeseon in the end, I really truly feel like it was Haeseon choosing Gwon he in the end. I really truly feel like Haeseon was just that girl. Like you can't tell me nothing. And like so many people we just vibed with Haeseon. Like I think she definitely became the most followed cast member of this season, and like you could just tell her energy, her personality was just very infectious. A lot of people were drawn to her. A lot of people labeled her as their favorite of the season. I for one did as well. Favorite girl, favorite person of the season entirely. So I think it's very deserving, very fitting of her to be an iconic. Like we will remember Haeseon. She will go down in the books in Singles Inferno season 3 and the franchise as a whole. Very supportive queen, very emotionally intelligent, very emotionally ready, and she got smart, she got brains. A lot of people were comparing her to Nadine of last season just because she's very smart, she's very beautiful, very attractive, and just has a very good head on her shoulders. For as good as she looks, sometimes people would presume her to be a little bit more shallow or a little bit more dense, but she was none of that. She was just divine, just everything. I love her. But that wraps up the girls for season 3. We're gonna quickly move on to our guys of season 3, and first up is Wonnik. His tier ranking is gonna fall in, I think, Get a Grip, and I will explain that now. So we're gonna put him in Get a Grip because I felt like towards the end there he was acting a little funny, a little strange, specifically when it came down to endlessly pursuing Xian. And there's been types of guys on the show in the past, Jungwoo and I forget the other guy's name from season 1, who just were very relentless in pursuing the girl, who for a majority of their time on the island just did not show or reciprocate much of that energy and attention or attraction back. And regardless, they just kept pursuing that girl. I don't want to say I looked down on those types of guys on the show, or even girls, because there are one or two, I think, in this entire cast list in terms of the franchise that may have done that. But I just personally, I'm not gonna knock him, but personally it was just like, Get a Grip guy. Like, she does not like you, can we move on? The conversation where he brought up the fact that he really chose her to avoid her going with Mingwoo, despite her having frustrations not being able to talk to Mingwoo, was, I think, a little bit too selfish. I understand, and I voiced that when we were reacting to the show, that this experience should cause you and enable you to be a little bit selfish for yourself, because at the end of the day you're looking for your partner, but also that other person is looking for their partner, and to basically kind of like force them to go on a date with you even though they did not want to be picked, and they kind of told you they didn't want to be picked, and you picked them anyway and told them you were basically going to keep getting in the way of her trying to build a connection, was kind of very slimy, was kind of very like, boy, get a grip. But for the next guy, we're gonna move on. We have Jinsuk. Jinsuk was a guy in the cast who I felt like I was not gonna like at first, actually, just from his appearances, and that's okay. Like, I judged the book by its cover, I did, but I very slowly opened up to Jinsook and warmed up to him. I felt like we were missing, though, a lot of his personality. We didn't get to see truly a lot of it. We saw peeks and like glimpses of it, like his funny moments with Hajong, him teasing Minyoung and whatnot, but I felt like we saw maybe not as much of his personality that I maybe wanted to see. And so I feel like I want to put him in underrated. Can we say that? Like, I don't want to say he was just there, because honestly in the first couple episodes he was a big part of like the screen time, like getting screen time. Like, he was like really involved in the early process of the show, I guess you can say, with Minyoung, and then getting tied up with Minji and Minyoung. After that, though, he did kind of fall to the background, both him and Minyoung, though. But I want to put him in entirely underrated, because I feel like there was so much more he could show, so much more he could give, but he just did not have the best love interests, in my opinion. But for our next guy in the cast, we have Minkyu. Minkyu, we're just gonna put him where he is, and we're just gonna explain it. He was just there. Honestly, I was feeling like he would be kind of on Guanhee's level in terms of how many girls would be flocking to him, per se, because Minkyu honestly was a very attractive guy. I really felt like he was gonna pull some girls. He didn't pull many, and that's okay. And the girl he did pull was Gyuri, and unfortunately Gyuri was just not willing to give anything to any of the men. Not saying that she needed to, like, that was required of her, but I feel like she just wasn't as like invested in this experience as the other girls. Definitely, I want to say she's very withdrawn, and we didn't really see much of her outside of her moments with Minkyu, and then those very last moments with Minwoo. But with Minkyu, I just feel like he pursued the wrong girl. Let's be honest. Our next, Habin. A lot of people were very disappointed in Habin, in his showcase of emotions, his showcase of personality. In season 3, he just was very, very reserved, very pulled back, very checked out of this experience on day 1. He did not try to get to know about anyone. He didn't pull many girls for a chat. He mostly just chilled in the guys' room, it seems, and like talked and hanged out with the guys or whatever, and didn't really make an effort to truly get to know any of the girls. And that's why people were disappointed in him, because a lot of people felt really drawn to Habin in the beginning. They felt like he was misunderstood, and he probably would have been put in the entirely underrated category if he did try to seek to get to know girls, but he quickly just gave up. And he was spending a little vacay on the Inferno Island. He went to Paradise once and went to sleep at like 10 o'clock. So we're gonna have to put Habin in wait who. Honestly, wait who, because even though this show just wrapped, girl, it's still a wait who, because even I'm having trouble remembering like who this man was on the season. Like, if I were to look back, if I were to go and watch, if the show got renewed for season 4 and we were to go take a look back at season 3, just reminiscing about it, I'm gonna be like, Habin who? Like, who was that? Like, I don't remember him, because he did not get screen time, because he was so checked out of the experience and just did not try, and was just clearly on a vacation, which is like fine by me, I guess. But next, for our second to last guys of Singles Inferno 3, we have Minwoo. I'm looking at Sharp Left and I'm realizing this is kind of like a category I feel like that could be taken 2 ways. Like, Sharp Left, like, yikes, like they took a turn for the worse, or Sharp Left, like, wait, I didn't like them before, but I kind of ended up liking them in the end. And I feel like that's where I want to place Minwoo. Sharp Left, not in the negative sense, but in the positive sense. He took a sharp left where, well, maybe we can say like sharp left, sharp right, like / sharp right, we'll say. I'm not going to revise it, but you guys get what I'm saying. Sharp right for him, because very early on, I was clowning him for changing his mind up, basically for not choosing Gyuri on the first day. I was like, you kind of played yourself, guy. You really did kind of play yourself. And then he was looking kind of acting a little bit desperate the second time around for choosing for Paradise, when he realized his mistake and not first choosing Gyuri. And so I was like, you kind of played yourself there, my guy. But then after that, he kind of faded to the background. I was like, okay, he's probably just gonna be there and I'm not gonna really care for him. But then I feel like things took a turn when he went on a date with Minji. And I don't know, like the light was glistening on him pretty good. Not to rank the looks or anything, but Minwoo, he was not like super attractive. Like he didn't look super great to me at first, but then he did. Sorry, we're not ranking looks, but I just want to say, like, I noticed him more after that. I don't know why. After the date with Minji, he just looked more appealing and more attractive. And then definitely like his little romance and cute romance with Shion and how he looked at her was the most cutest, adorable thing ever, period. But lastly, girl, we got the main event. We really do got the main event. A lot of people have mixed feelings about this man. I want to say our most frustrating, most controversial man of the season, and that is a man none other than Lee Guan-hee. All right, Guan-hee, I quickly came to not like him as many others did watching this season. He was just very quickly acting like a clown. We all know how Guan-hee was acting. He was acting a mess. He was acting a fool. He was saying one thing to one girl one day and then one thing to another girl the next. He was very flip-floppy with his emotions and was not very in touch, very in tune with them throughout the entire season. But I do have to say, while this man was frustrating, while this man was incredibly frustrating, let's get that right, very controversial, he was the talk of the season. And if we're going by that, if we're going by, say, a season 4 comes out again, I watched season 4 and I'm reminiscing about season 3, who are we remembering? Who are we remembering that season for? Guan-hee. Like, Guan-hee. So we're gonna have to put him, and as much as it pains me, we're gonna have to put him in iconic. Like, this man was the talk of the season. As much as we maybe didn't like him at first, or as much as people did like him, like, he was just truly the talk of the season, the talk of the town. We would have not have gotten as much as drama as we did, or as much entertainment as we did in season 3. We loved commenting on him. We definitely did. Like, if you look back on my reaction videos, name a title to a video he's not in, because he was involved in every episode. He was a pivotal part of every episode. As much as he was a frustrating part of every episode, he was there. He was there, and he was the talk of the town. So we have to give credit where it's due. All right, now moving on. First on the list for season 2, we have who I thought was gonna be like our second Jaya, like Jaya reincarnated, and like kind of so. We have Shinsuke. Suki, she was very much giving bland at first. She was just like smiling and like there. I couldn't much get behind her personality to begin with. I felt like she was just very bland, very boring, very just there. But I feel like as time went by, and especially after she started connecting with Jungwoo, I was able to see more of her personality more. So I feel like, and since we have reinvented this category that I'm about to put her in, I'll put her in sharp left, but the positive sharp left, so our sharp right. So yeah, I was vibing with her towards the end of the series. Next we have So-eun, and she's very strong and independent. She didn't really need validation from the men. Like, men just like sort of flocked to her, and she ended up being in a stable kind of connection / relationship with someone on the island who we will get to in a second. But she was very much just stable, independent, flourishing, nourishing mother. For that reason, I feel like I'm gonna put her in underrated. I want to say she's like slightly underrated because I don't feel like when people think of Singles Inferno, she's many people's favorite. I don't think so I feel like she deserved a little bit more hype than she was getting. Next we have Nadine. Nadine is, like I described Haesung, to be very beautiful on the outside and just very heartwarming person, and like so nice, so just everything. While Haesung was not overlooked, Nadine was overlooked like throughout the entire season. I just felt like not many men were eyeing her down, and if they did, they didn't really truly get to know her or see the good in her. Like, she was very overlooked in my opinion, so I want to put her honestly in entirely underrated. Girlie should have got chosen at the end. Like, how did she not? And next we have Lee So-e. So-e, girl, had a bit of a journey on season 2. If I recall correctly, she was like intertwined with Sowon's love interest, who I will remember his name when we get to him. And a lot of people criticized her very early on for not getting it that he wasn't into her. And I was frustrated. I remember being frustrated with him instead of her. But now looking back on it and looking back on the season as a whole and her actions, I do feel like she was acting a bit immature, which she was 22. I'm 22 now. I think she was 22 or 23. She was very young on the show. But I will have to say, for a minute there, she needed to get a grip. Like, I think she was crying over him. I think she was getting emotional, and she wasn't giving up on him despite the obvious signs. Like, I don't know. I think it was just a lack of maturity. Moving along, we have next my hottie girl, my baddie, Park Sejong. Okay, Sejong was heavily overlooked. I do not think I need to explain. I notice a lot of times with like dating shows in Korea, or just dating culture in Korea, they don't like really like kind of tan, like kind of baddie types of girls. Whereas in the States or like in the Western part of the world, I feel like that's like the ideal type for most. So I will put her in entirely underrated, because just based off of like how we would perceive her in America, she would have definitely been like top tier, like top of the girls, top of the rank for that season. All right, next we have, I think, Minsu is what her name is. Girly also needed to get a grip. Let's rank her. I remember her storyline on the show. She came in and she immediately gravitated towards Dex. We're gonna call him Dex because a lot of people refer to him as Dex. She kept choosing him despite him putting out like friendship vibes, like I just want to be friends, and she kept trying to push it and like make it happen, like make romantic sparks happen where it just wasn't happening. And I feel like when people do not catch the signs and are adamantly pursuing someone despite them like literally either verbally expressing they have no interest or showing they have no interest, I just find that to be not pathetic, but just like disappointing and frustrating and annoying. So I would put her in get a grip. But that's all the women for season 2. We're gonna move on to the men of season 2, and first up is the man's name who I kept forgetting but am now remembering in this moment, and that is Yoonjae. Yoonjae was the guy that had Sowon tied down, like they were like this. I think I'm gonna put him in just there. I didn't really have like feelings towards him, about him or anything. I don't know, I think he, aside from being with Sowon, didn't have much else going on. He was just always like attached to the hip with Sowon. Like when I think of Sowon, I think of Yoonjae, but when I think of Yoonjae, I think of Sowon. But when I think of Sowon, I don't immediately just think of Yoonjae. Like I feel like Sowon had a personality, like a presence outside of Yoonjae in the show, but Yoonjae was just pretty much tied to Sowon. But next for our men of season 2, we have Jungwoo. Okay. Jungwoo was another one of those unfortunate souls who needed to get a grip. So we'll rank him now, and I'll explain why he's where he is. So Jungwoo, as we all know in season 2, or if you need a reflection or reminder, he was one of those persistent souls. He was going after the love and attention for Shin Soo-ki, and Soo-ki was not giving anything back. I just found it quite annoying how endless his pursuit for her was. In the end, we all know he got her, but are they dating today? Were they dating 6 months after the show? I don't even think they were dating a month after the show. So was it worth it? I don't think so. Moving along though, we have, not to be confused with Hanbin, I would honestly just also put him in, he was just there. He didn't have, I don't think, any other love interest on the island except for Sowon. I don't think he tried to get to know any of the other girls too after realizing it wasn't going to work out with her. And I think he did choose her in the end. However, she chose, of course, what's his face? Yoonjae. So he was just there for me. He didn't have much of an impact, but didn't have surely anything negative to bring to the screens. Next girl, we have Dongwoo, not to be confused with Jungwoo, but Dongwoo, who I did confuse throughout the season. Don't know why. I think their names are too similar. But Dongwoo's a clown. He was a clown. He absolutely was. Because how dare you write off Nadine? That was his first and most crucial mistake right there. And that's what sunk his ship. So honestly, wait, who? Don't woohoo, girl, because you're not about to play Nadine like that. I felt like he fell back after his date with her, and then also after he got addicted, obsessed with Suki and pursued her endlessly, and even ended up picking her in the end. I just felt like he was a clown. Like, you played yourself. You had something good with Nadine, and I felt like they could have been something, but you chose not to. Next, girl, we have probably one of the most iconic of the season. That is Dex, aka Jin Young. He was honestly very confusing the way he treated the whole Suki situation. Like, he left it very open and up in the air to the very last moment with Suki, to where I feel like Suki ended up not choosing him because of that reason, because he was too like unclear with where he stood with her and Nadine, that it was a turn off for Suki, and she ended up choosing Jungwoo instead. But anyway, Dex, we all know, is iconic. I mean, the man literally became a host for season 3. He has become this huge internet personality in Korea following the show. Like, he interviewed Sana, so that's pretty cool. So hopefully they bring him back as another panelist for if we get a season 4. That would be cool. And then last, for our season 2 males and females concluding season 2, we have Sejun. Sejun, I absolutely adored. I loved him so much in season 2. I wish we had more time with him, honestly, and I absolutely loved that he came for So-e and that him and So-e worked out in the end. I will put him in like underrated, entirely underrated / slightly underrated, just because I felt like we didn't get to see as much as I wanted to see of him. Alright guys, but with that being said, we are now down to our final season ranking, and to do that, girl, you know we gotta start big. I'm gonna start all the way up here with our queen, our literal queen. I don't care what you say about Jaya, that she was just there, a model, and still looked pretty. She did it well. She sat still and she looked pretty, and she did it well. Okay, Jaya, we have to rank her in iconic, and she's number 1 iconic, above Haesung. Yes. Hold on, let me do it. She is the number 1 iconic girl of all, the most iconic cast member of all. She's just that girl. Imagine Singles Inferno without Jaya. Like, the amount of like edits and like I don't know, like fan cams or fan edits that came out after that show, like compilations of Song Jaya just being Jaya, like just existing on the show and like pulling all these men, was insane and crazy. And so I felt like a lot of people like were vibing with Jaya. But next, for our girls of season 1, we had Jiyeon, I think is her name. She, I felt, was like Jaya's runner-up. Like, she was like the second most sought after girl on the cast for season 1 for sure. I don't know that she left as strong as an impact as Jaya, like, who would, right? Like, who could? Honestly, I didn't really have many thoughts or many like feelings about Jiyeon. She didn't really rub me the wrong way. She didn't really necessarily rub me the right way, but like not in a bad way. Like, she was just there for me. I think she just kind of got lost in Jaya's charm, like Jaya's fame in season 1, so I didn't really like care to see what she had going on. That's just my opinion. I feel like I'm sounding like a hater or something. I'm voicing myself as honest as possible, and I felt like she was just there. So Jiyeon, she's gonna be put in our standing man category. Next, we have our hottie girl, another hottie girl of ours, our original athletic girly who just was beasting in all the women's competitions. I don't know if you guys remember that, but she was clearing all of the women. And so yeah, I feel like for her, who did she have connections with on this cast? Is it Jintake, something like that. She had connections with this guy on the show, and I felt like he was playing a back and forth game with her. He was not really understanding how much of a baddie of a woman he had in front of her, but I just felt like he was being flaky with her. I can't remember the details of season 1 at all, and I'm not gonna look it up. But I do remember that there was not as much reciprocation in terms of like attraction and feelings on his part compared to her part. I think she was being more open and vulnerable with him, and he was just not doing the same. Next we have for the woman of season 1, Yewon. Yewon was kind of like, she's more like the Sejong from season 2. Yewon was that for season 1. She was highly overlooked. I feel like she just wasn't a lot of guys' ideal type. I think she was very like athletically built and like super like toned, and I think a bit more tanned than most guys would have liked, though she did have a connection with one of the men on the cast. I believe it was Orange Shorts boy over here, who I will remember the name in a bit. She was connected to him, and I felt like she just wasn't given as much attention as other girls on the cast. It's hard to do when Jaya literally exists, so that's unfortunate. She was on the same season with Jaya. We're gonna put her in entirely underrated. And next we have for our second to last woman on the cast, Minji. Minji, not to be mistaken with season 3 Minji, but season 1 Minji. Honestly, I'll tell you honestly, when I was going back looking for pictures of everyone to grab to rank for throughout the seasons, and I stumbled across hers, I remembered her face, but could not remember her storyline or her time on the show at all. While I don't want to say, wait, who? Because obviously noticed and recognized her, I just can't remember her time on the show. So for that reason, I'm going to put her in the standing man category. She was just kind of there. But our next woman, we will definitely have to put in, wait, who? I literally had to look up her name, look up like everything about her to remember her. And even still, I can't remember like exactly what her time was like on the show. Her name is Sumin. I do remember that she came later because obviously she wasn't in the OG cast lineup. And obviously, again, going back to Jaya, when you're on a season with Jaya, it's hard to remember girly. It's definitely hard. So I'm gonna have to put her in wait who, because I genuinely do not remember anything about this woman. On to our last final stretch, our men of season 1. And the first man we have is Jaya's little puppy that she ended up choosing in the end. He was cute, he was fine, he was adorable, whatever. Like I was rooting for them to be in couple in game, and it happened. I do feel like kind of a similar effect to Yoonjae and so on. Jun was attached to the hip with Jaya, so I think he kind of faded into her shadow. So we're just gonna put him in. He was there, and he was like a nice thing to look at too, but he was just there, you know what I'm saying? Like he just was lost in Jaya, and rightfully so. Like I said, she's that woman. But next we have another one of Jaya's pursuers, another man who was obsessed with her. I think his name is Shihun, but Shihun, he was originally interested in most Jiyeon, and then after his magical date with Jaya in Paradise, man fell completely head over heels for Jaya, rightfully so. I will say though, like, he needed to get a grip because he was acting completely desperate for her. And while like that's commendable because it's Jaya, I do feel like he lacked a little bit of self-dignity in the couple episodes towards the end there. He was just like fiending for Miss Mamas and was not getting her, but I felt kind of bad for him towards the end. Next for our men though for season 1, we have Moon Se-hoon. And Se-hoon was another guy on the cast, our first ever that I've seen this adamant about a girl who clearly does not like him. He was our first ever to like do the whole unrequited love situation for Singles Inferno. He was the blueprint. So Se-hoon, he was attached to the hip to Jiyeon. He was endlessly pursuing this girl. I mean, he even got mad I can't remember who he got upset at for calling him out on his behavior of just pursuing her, and he just got really nasty and I didn't like it, and he just was like super offended and defensive or whatever. I can't remember exactly how that scene played out, but I remember like side-eyeing him like, but you are kind of like being a little bit pitiful. Like I think he was being pitiful. If Jongwoo wasn't, he definitely was. But we're gonna put him in Get a Grip, of course. The man needed to get several grips actually. We now have our next male for season 1, Junseek. I don't think I'm pronouncing their names right. Junseek. He was attached to the hip to Yewon, our girly in red over here, they had a nice little kind of moment together. They, if I could compare them to past couples throughout the seasons, kind of had like I don't want to say similar storyline, but just felt like in similar nature to Jin Sok and Min Young. But we will put him in kind of just there, our standing man category. He was just there to me. He wasn't quite Jin Sok's level, even though I compared him to Jin Sok's couple. He just was not quite at that level. He was just there for me. No more explanation needed. Then we have our clown, Jin-taek. Jin-taek also was another guy who I felt like dropped the ball when it came to, I think it was, who was I talking about? Soyeon, who I felt like was not getting the energy back that she was putting in. She wasn't receiving that same energy back. And so I feel like I'm gonna put, wait, who? Because you disrespected her. I feel like there was something about him where he was just being like hot and cold with her, or iffy and a roundabout with her, and I was not enjoying it. Did not enjoy it in the slightest bits. So he deserves where he is. Wait, who? And then lastly, we have our last male that entered the cast for season 1, I believe. Hyunsong, he was after Jaya. Apparently they knew each other like a little bit before, and apparently he was going after her though. Like he's like what he saw. But I remember not much about him except for the fact that he went on a nice little a boat date with Jaya. And it kind of scared our little puppy. He was a backup dancer for Sumi. And still is, because I actually just saw a picture of him and Sumi together. I'm gonna put him in, he was just there. Like, I don't want to say wait who, because obviously I know who this man is. Like, seeing you around, you're kind of familiar at this point. But yeah, he was just there for me. I think all we have to do now, and I didn't want to originally do this, but we surely can, let's rank our seasons of Singles Inferno. So definitely season 3 is gonna go down in the books for forever as iconic. 2 Infernos, Gwanhee, Haeseon, 2 of our iconic names are in this season, and the season was just so well done and so well rethought and reimagined from the past 2 seasons. Like, it did not give us anything we were expecting, and so that was really a good surprise. For season 2, I'm gonna put it in kind of just there. Season 2, I don't think had too many memorable scenes or faces, obviously apart from Dex, Jin Young, who is in our iconic category, but he did come later on, and there just wasn't as much drama as season 3, and not so much like, oh, this is fresh, this is new excitement as season 1 did. Which brings us to season 1. Season 1 definitely still will go in iconic, as much as it was like the first kind of attempt at the show and was like, it was like testing the waters of what it could be. It still really put Singles Inferno on the map. Without a season 1, without Jaya, without those original cast members of season 1, we wouldn't have gotten renewed for season 2 or season 3. But that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video, tier ranking the entire cast list of Singles Inferno seasons 1 through 3, plus our little surprise ranking of the seasons at the end there. Again, tell me who are your favorites of all time of the show. Who would you have ranked differently, or who do you agree with my ranking? Just tell me your thoughts on this whole tier ranking below. If you have not already, give this video a big thumbs up. It helps me out so much, as you know. Also, check to make sure that you are subscribed. It is a quick and easy click of a button. Lastly, more for your sake than my sake, check to make sure that you've turned on those bell notifications. Again, that's going to notify you every time I upload, so that you don't miss out when I upload next. Thank you so much for watching to the very end. If you made it to this point, girl, I love you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.